Good day, I am Miggy Gerland and welcome to today's podcast about ideal beauty. But before we begin, what is ideal beauty? Well, ideal beauty is a phenomenon that several people around the world experience wherein a particular set of beauty standards are instilled in them from a young age to increase their physical attractiveness. This may vary in different countries and cultures. For instance, youthfulness is the beauty goal in America, while natural flawless skin is a beauty ideal in Europe. Beauty standards will always be present through the systems ingrained in society, since someone's social status is heavily influenced by how well they can follow the beauty ideals within their culture. According to Foreman, an example of this is the practice of foot binding in China, where a woman's feet are bound to maintain a smaller foot size to represent the height of female refinement. The idea of beauty for all cultures is ever changing. In fact, in today's culture, young adults either feel more pressure than ever to keep up with the latest trends or are encouraged to bend the rules and create their own definitions of beauty. Moving on, what is the origin of beauty standards and how does it change?
I can answer that, Miggy. There is no exact origin of the beauty of standards. However, according to the study of Washington Post published in 1987, it all began 2,400 years ago in Greece and Rome, when the West standards of beauty were set. According to Carl Ravenel, an American university art historian and painter, the secret to beauty by Greek standard was in the harmonious proportion of facial features. Since then, people are obsessed with calculation and math. During that time, science was also highly utilized to the point that they invented physiognomy that allows them to read a person's character from physical features and expressions. In this period of time, most individuals believe that beauty has three sections, from hairline to eyes, eyes to upper lips, and upper lips to chin. The ideal face was two-thirds as wide as it was high. It is because some known individuals like Plato saw that face and body system has triad. When Johann Winckelmann examined the ideal of beauty, he found out that it was difficult to find. He mentioned some specific characteristics that are considered by Greek beautiful: a straight nose or one that fell in a slightly depressed line from its root of the forehead, a low forehead for the look of youth, and perfect eyebrow called eyebrow of grace that formed a delicate arc just over the brow bone. Particularly appealing were eyebrows that grew together over the nose.
Oh, but didn't ancient Egyptians also have beauty standards?
Ancient Egyptians are also known as individuals who have beauty standards. They considered beauty as holiness. Beauty is power. In Cleopatra's case, she used it to boost her country and influence others to touch up their appearance regardless of genders. Some notable beauty standards throughout the history is during the Han Dynasty, Italian Renaissance, Victorian England, early 1920s, the Golden Age of Hollywood, the swinging 60s, the supermodel era, heroin chic era, and postmodern beauty era, whereas our current beauty standards is.
What an insightful explanation by JJ. Although I was wondering, since we are young adults here, what is the impact of ideal beauty and social media on our self-esteem?
First, I would like to acknowledge that was like a really long history of ideal beauty. I didn't know that. But living in this generation today, where unfortunately we are often judged by the way we look, it is an undeniable fact that there are times when we feel pressured to conform to society's ideal beauty, even if these beauty standards can be as absurd as we can imagine. Social media, when it comes to this issue, is a double-edged sword. While some influencers try to use their platform to promote body positivity and such, there are still some that compel their audience to somewhat conform or at least compare themselves to these unrealistic beauty standards. Photo filters, photoshops, makeup, and even body enhancement procedures or surgeries are all fine and well as long as these are the things that makes you happy. But for some people, especially teens and young adults who are yet to mature and realize their self-worth outside these norms, are susceptible to damage self-esteem when constantly exposed to these concepts of ideal beauty. And sadly, what starts with a lowered confidence, which is already bad as it is, often leads to worse or much more complex problems and issues such as eating disorders and depression. However, as already mentioned, there are efforts to raise awareness about this matter and movements to promote all types of beauty. The stigma can definitely be broken, but the need to recognize that each of us is beautiful in our own unique ways, as cliche as it may sound, must also increase. Self-acceptance and self-love are not as easy as they sound, but they are surely not impossible.
Thanks for clearing that up, Ian. Now, in relation to the previous question I had, does beauty actually affect one's success in life?
Although it's true that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, this isn't always the case in reality. People initially judge you based on your appearance rather than your personality. This only serves to demonstrate how important ideal beauty in a person is and how having it or not having it impacts many aspects of life nowadays, including success at work. Are you familiar with the proverb, beauty is power? This is now obviously true in professional context. An employee's physical appearance may have a greater impact on their ability to land a job or receive compensation than they might have anticipated. The halo effect, also known as the beauty bias, is a psychological and biological phenomenon whereby people have a predisposition to be drawn to things that are attractive. In fact, a 2010 Newsweek poll revealed that 64% of hiring managers concur that beauty influences the employment process. Sure, beauty can help to a person's success, but I hope that as our generation shapes the future, the expectation that one must be beautiful in order to succeed will be discarded because beauty is not the sole factor in determining one's abilities.
Thank you for that brilliant explanation, Palmir. I never realized how big of a factor beauty is for the success of one's life. Alright, finally, my last concern is regarding the pressing issue that our society is currently facing, which is objectification and how it is relevant to ideal beauty.
I can expound on this meaning. So, objectification and ideal beauty are two concepts that clash with one another. In fact, one may consider them as two sides of the same coin, as they influence each other one way or another. According to Van den Bosch and Egremont, exposure to sexually objectifying music, television, fashion magazines, and social networking sites is linked to the cognitive processes of internalization and self-objectification, as well as the behavioral activity of body monitoring. Internalization and self-objectification may have an indirect rather than a direct impact on body monitoring. Therefore, one can consider that exposure to the culture of objectification be a possible factor with regards to what one considers as ideal beauty. In Beckett's findings, she pointed out that communication technologies have an impact on people's self-image and social interactions through online shared photos. Prior research was also accumulated through the duration of her study, showing that constant exposure to idealized media content on social media affects perceptions of beauty standards and positive body image. In Xiao and Wang's study, their findings demonstrated that objectifying women acted as a mediating factor in the relationships between internalizing beauty norms and both hostile and benign sexism. That's all for me.
Thanks, Raf. Well, without further ado, that wraps up our podcast for today. Thank you for listening.